Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into the digital places where we spend so much of our time work, learning, our personal lives. For more than a decade now, it feels like we've been living under the shadow of these huge, centralized social media platforms. And, the big thing we found, the core issue really, is this built-in conflict. It seems unavoidable. What the platform wants, basically, profit for the company, is just fundamentally different from what you, the user, actually need. Things like usefulness, privacy, real connection.
Yeah, it's not really a flaw in the system. It's how the system is designed to work. It's built on this idea of surveillance capitalism. That's the business model. It absolutely relies on collecting and, selling every tiny bit of data about you. Your location, how you behave online, even how long your mouse hovers over an ad or a post. It's relentless. And they pair that with algorithms specifically designed to grab and hold your attention to maximize how long you stay on the site. The inevitable result, we see it everywhere. A real drop in meaningful, genuine interaction. We're actually being sort of engineered for shallower engagement.
Right. Engineered? That's a strong word, but it feels accurate. And that widespread feeling of dissatisfaction, that malaise, it's exactly why we're now seeing this urgent need for something different. Enter the private microsocial network, or PMSN. So what is that? We're defining it as a small digital community built for a specific purpose, and importantly, governed by its own members or owners. It's about taking control back from those giant corporations and giving it to the actual community. So our mission today, we're going to explore 10 solid reasons why this shift, this move to PMSNs is so crucial. Crucial for getting back our digital autonomy, for fostering deeper connections, and for protecting our valuable knowledge and ideas, our intellectual capital. And specifically, we'll be looking at how a framework like Web4.community really provides the architecture to tackle each one of these deep-seated problems. Okay, let's dive into the first major area, autonomy and trust. And maybe the biggest breach of trust in the current model is how personal data is handled, or maybe mishandled. The core failure of these big platforms seems to be just systematically exploiting users like they're a natural resource.
Oh, absolutely. And think about how deep that exploitation goes. It's not just the stuff you post publicly. No, they're collecting, aggregating, analyzing your private messages. They're building these incredibly detailed psychological profiles based on where you go, what you search for, your clicks across other websites using tracking pixels. For you as an individual, it feels creepy, right? Intrusive. But imagine you're a professional group or a school or maybe a research team dealing with sensitive intellectual property like internal strategy talks or unpublished findings. The risk there is enormous, massive security and IP risks, because every conversation, every shared file lives on their servers, vulnerable to data breaches, government subpoenas, who knows what else.
So the whole relationship between the user and their data is just broken from the start. By design, as you said.
Yeah.
So how do we fix that? How do we rebuild that relationship? How does a PMSN, maybe specifically using Web4.community, actually stop that data exploitation at the root, structurally?
The change really has to be architectural. It's fundamental. Web4.community tackles this head-on by pushing for a decentralized, or more accurately, a federated infrastructure. Now, federation, maybe not everyone's familiar with that. Think of it less like one massive central HQ and more like a network of smaller, independent, connected servers. So your community's content isn't all piled up on one giant, vulnerable, corporate-owned server farm somewhere. Instead, it's stored either directly under the control of the person running the community, the host who sets their own security rules, or it's within a secure setup using end-to-end encryption, like on nodes that the community itself manages.
Okay, but hold on. Doesn't spreading things out like that, decentralizing, make it way more complicated to manage? You're kind of trading ease of use for security, aren't you?
That's a fair point, and it's a trade-off worth discussing. But platforms like Web4.community are actually designed to handle that complexity. While the data storage might be spread out for security federated the interface, the part the community host uses often provides a single, clear dashboard. It simplifies the day-to-day management. But the absolutely critical point is this. This distributed control eliminates that passive, nonstop data harvesting by the platform provider. It just can't happen in the same way. It's blocked by default. Plus, you get things like end-to-end encryption for private messages automatically. That means nobody, not even the system admins, can read those direct messages between members. For groups dealing with anything sensitive, that's really the only path to achieving genuine data sovereignty.
That makes sense. And it leads us pretty naturally from data safety to emotional safety, psychological security. Let's talk about the mental toll these platforms take. You mentioned the design, the heuristics are intentionally addictive.
Yeah, and this is where the science of keeping you engaged crashes right into the company's bottom line. It's pure profit motive. They use these well-documented techniques. Things like infinite scrolling, where the page never ends, removing any natural signal to stop. Or variable reward schedules. That means notifications, new posts, they pop up randomly. It triggers the same dopamine response in your brain as, say, a slot machine. Gambling mechanics, essentially. This keeps you in this constant state of low-level alertness, always checking. And the research is clear. It's linked directly to higher anxiety, distress from comparing yourself to the polished, perfect versions of other people's lives you see, and that awful fear of missing out, FOMO. Every little detail, down to the pixel level, is often engineered to hijack your focus and, frankly, undermine your mental well-being, all just to keep you scrolling longer. Maximize that dwell time.
Wow. So if the problem is intentional design for addiction, then the solution has to be just as intentional, but designing for what?
Mindfulness. Focus work.
Exactly.
Designing for purpose, not just passive consumption. The PMSN model, and definitely how Web4.community approaches it, flips the script entirely. It's designed for engagement that's low friction, yes, but also intentional. You go there to do something specific. Structurally, it encourages smaller groups, people you actually know and trust. That immediately lowers the pressure, the feeling that you have to perform for this huge, faceless audience. You're not broadcasting to the world. You're participating within a defined, understood context. And then Web4.community builds in features that actively support mindful use. Things like really granular controls over notifications. You decide when and how you get pinged, you throttle it, or even special deep work interface modes that temporarily hide distracting elements so you can focus. Just the absence of that constant algorithmic nudging and those aggressive prompts to engage naturally allows for more meaningful, supportive interactions. Interactions focus on why the community exists in the first place. It leads to a real improvement in well-being.
Okay, point 3 feels foundational too. Longevity. What's the point of pouring all your time, your energy, your group's knowledge into a community space if the platform itself could just vanish? These big centralized platforms seem like a huge single point of failure, both financially and strategically.
We've seen it happen. Remember Google Plus peak? Huge investment, then poof, gone. Or think about the constant chaos and uncertainty around platforms like X, what used to be Twitter, or even Tumblr over the years. Acquisitions, strategy shifts, centralized platforms are basically hostages to their parent company's fortunes. They face risks from financial trouble, sudden strategy changes, breaking changes to their APIs that kill essential tools people rely on, or just outright shutdowns. If your organization, your research group, your alumni network relies on that platform for its history, its communication, its knowledge base, you're constantly vulnerable. All that institutional memory, potentially years of valuable discussion and work, could just be wiped out, locked away, or made impossible to access overnight because of some corporate decision miles away.
It really sounds like built-in vendor lock-in. Your community's entire history is basically dependent on the continuing goodwill and stability of some giant external company. How does Web4.community offer protection against that kind of market chaos and platform decay? How does it guarantee you won't get locked in or left behind?
The guarantee comes from its core architecture, being decentralized and, crucially, open source. Web4.community is built for true longevity and data portability because of this. The underlying code isn't secret, it's publicly available for anyone to inspect, auditable, and critically, it's forkable. Now, for listeners, forkable means if the main company behind it were to disappear or maybe make a decision that harms the community itself can legally take the existing public code, create their own independent version, and just keep going. There's no lock-in. The platform also guarantees that all your community data, every single post, uploaded document, membership list can be easily exported. You can back it up, migrate it, set it up again somewhere else using that same open source code. This gives you genuine digital self-sovereignty. It protects the community's legacy, completely separate from the ups and downs of the external market.
Okay, moving into section 2, this is all about the actual value of the communication happening on these platforms. If, as you said, the main goal of centralized platforms is just to keep us scrolling, maximizing dwell time, what does that do to the quality of information we actually see? What are the algorithmic side effects?
It creates a huge amount of noise, a terrible signal-to-noise ratio. That's the real trap of the attention economy. These proprietary algorithms, the secret sauce behind Facebook or Twitter feeds, they aren't optimized to show you what's relevant or important. They're optimized for reaction. They actively push content that triggers strong emotions, anger, outrage, maybe just low-quality clickbait, because that stuff gets clicks and comments. It boosts engagement metrics. Genuine, thoughtful, relevant information often gets drowned out. So you, the user, are constantly wading through this sea of irrelevant distractions. It seriously degrades the platform's usefulness for anything focused or productive. If you're trying to coordinate a team project or teach a class online, you're basically fighting against an environment designed to pull your attention away constantly with emotional noise.
All right, so we're shifting from platforms where this hidden algorithm dictates relevance to a model where the community itself gets to define what's important. How does a PMSN, and specifically Web4 community, manage to cut through all that algorithmic noise?
It's simple, really. It gives control back to the community administrator, the host. Web4 community empowers that host to decide exactly how content gets ranked and shown to members. Instead of maximizing engagement at all costs, the platform operates on a relevance-first principle by default. So the information flow can be set up based on what actually makes sense for the group. Maybe simple chronological order. Or maybe organized by user-defined topics, project milestones, specific discussion channels, whatever serves the community's goals, not the platform's profit goals. Just making that shift creates much cleaner, focused communication channels. It boosts efficiency because the noise is filtered out based on the group's own purpose.
And that idea of purpose brings up another failure, maybe in the format itself. Mainstream social media seems built for these really quick, shallow hot takes. Great for going viral, maybe, but terrible for any kind of serious, complex conversation.
Absolutely. The format actively discourages depth and nuance. Think about it. If you post a careful 1,000-word analysis of something complex, say a new piece of legislation, it's likely going to get buried instantly by a short, punchy, maybe even inflammatory 20-character reaction. That's what the algorithms favor. The whole system prefers shallow, real-time, synchronous back and forth. So for any group trying to do complex project management, serious peer-reviewed, deep intellectual discussion, it's almost impossible. Context gets lost immediately, different parts of the conversation get fragmented, and building real shared knowledge is incredibly difficult because the platform rewards speed and fleeting attention over substance and lasting value.
So the alternative, like Web4 community, has to be structurally designed to support the exact opposite. It needs to foster deep, context-rich, maybe asynchronous communication, where the structure and meaning are more important than just speed.
Precisely. It has to be built into the design from the ground up. Web4 community facilitates this kind of structured asynchronous communication. It includes features that are essential for depth, things that go way beyond just a simple feed of posts, like dedicated, searchable knowledge bases where important information can live permanently. Sophisticated ways to tag threads so related discussions can be easily found later. Nested discussion hierarchies, allowing complex arguments to unfold logically, step by step, without getting lost. The interface itself is often designed to better support writing and reading longer pieces of content, facilitating things like peer review workflows or even collaborative document editing. This kind of structure allows the community to build up what you might call evergreen resources, durable records of its insights and decisions. A permanent asset. That's the necessary antidote to the fleeting, ephemeral nature of the viral post.
Okay, let's connect this to how organizations use these platforms. Even groups that spend years, maybe huge amounts of money, building up millions of followers on Facebook or LinkedIn. They never really own that connection, do they? They always seem to be fighting against the platform itself, trying to actually reach the people who supposedly follow them.
That's the harsh truth of building your house on someone else's land, or leased land, as some call it. Your organic reach, how many people naturally see your posts without you paying, is constantly being squeezed. The platform's algorithms deliberately limit visibility to encourage you to buy ads. You literally have to pay a toll to reliably reach the audience that has already explicitly said they want to hear from you. The platform holds all the cards. It decides who sees your message, when they see it, or if they see it at all. It turns your own hard-won following into this expensive barrier you constantly have to pay to overcome. You have zero direct channel ownership.
So the fix has to be about guaranteeing delivery, certainty. The PMSN model, as implemented by Web4 community, needs to give the owner 100% direct, unfiltered access to their members.
That's the fundamental promise, yes. With Web4 community, the community owner gets complete, unmediated, direct communication channel ownership. Every single member can be reached directly, maybe through deep integration with email or reliable push notifications, or simply by posting within the community space itself without any algorithm stepping in to filter or hide it. If the administrator needs to send out a critical update or an important announcement, they have the certainty it will actually reach the intended recipients. That guarantee of delivery for essential communications is incredibly valuable. It saves organizations potentially huge amounts of money they'd otherwise have to spend on platform advertising just to talk to their own people.
All right, Section 3. Sovereignty, economics, and customization. Let's start with sovereignty. When you join one of these massive platforms, you basically agree to their terms of service, often pages and pages of dense legal text nobody reads, and their moderation policies. They seem opaque, applied inconsistently, and almost never really fit the specific needs or culture of your particular group.
Exactly, and that's the inherent problem. These generic one-size-fits-all rules often clash directly with the specific cultural norms or communication styles of a niche community. Think about the difference in acceptable language and debate style between, say, a group of quantum physicists discussing research versus a fan club for a specific musician. Totally different worlds. The jargon, the sensitivities, what counts as acceptable disagreement is all unique. Applying a single set of blunt rules from on high leads to frustration, misunderstandings, stifled conversations, sometimes even unfair moderation or bans because the external moderators just don't get the context.
So the PMSN model needs to act more like a constitutional framework for the community. Web4.community has to provide the tools for the host to have full sovereignty, letting them write and enforce their own specific rules, their own community laws.
Precisely. It acts as that customizable framework. Web4.community gives the host the power, the administrative sovereignty, to craft and enforce bespoke community rules, guidelines tailored precisely to their group's needs and culture. This is absolutely vital for nurturing a healthy, functional internal culture. It means you can implement things like a custom-tiered moderation system, maybe different levels of permissions or responsibilities based on trust or contribution. Web4.community can offer tools for things like automated reputation scoring based on positive interaction, or transparent processes for handling rule violations. Features like these are key for building a consistent, sustainable culture that's managed from within, shielded from those unpredictable top-down policy changes coming from some disconnected external platform company.
Okay, next up. The money. The whole financial engine of mainstream social media is based on advertising, which means, as we've said, the user isn't the customer. Their attention is the product being sold. User value isn't about contribution or expertise. It's just about how long they can keep your eyeballs glued to the screen.
Right. And that fundamental reliance on advertising inevitably poisons the environment for many types of groups. The platform is financially incentivized to constantly interrupt the user experience with those third-party ads. That's directly harmful if your group is trying to build a focused, value-driven ecosystem. Think about an online course provider needing subscribers, a creator selling digital content directly, or a professional association managing membership fees. The constant advertising noise distracts from the actual value exchange the community is supposed to be about. It undermines the core purpose.
So a PMSN has to break that link. It needs to completely decouple its financial health from the attention economy. How does Web4.community achieve that? How does it ensure monetization independence?
It's built differently from the start. Web4.community is designed as an ad-free architecture. Its value proposition isn't selling attention, it's providing a valuable service or space. And importantly, it natively supports various internal monetization models. This is key. It means the community itself can easily set up things like direct membership subscriptions, maybe offer premium tiers, use token gating for exclusive content access if that fits their model, or even have integrated payment processing for specific services or content sold within the network. By completely separating the platform's operation from the need to sell ads, its financial success becomes directly tied to actual user satisfaction and the value it provides. It rewards real contribution and engagement, not just passive consumption.
But isn't that a hurdle? People are so used to social media being free, even though we know it's not really free. We pay with our data and attention. How hard is it to convince a group to move to a paid, even if ad-free environment, even if it is better?
That's definitely the main challenge in making the switch, no doubt. But we are seeing a shift in the market. People are increasingly recognizing the hidden costs of free and are more willing to pay a reasonable fee for guarantees around quality, privacy, focus, and control, especially for professional or high-value communities. The way it's often framed is, would you rather pay, say, $5 or $10 a month for a secure, focused, ad-free space where every interaction contributes to your goals, or use the free platform where you're constantly tracked, manipulated by algorithms, and bombarded with irrelevant distractions? Web4.community finds traction because it offers that tangible value, the sovereignty, the focus, the specific features that simply aren't available on the free ad-driven platforms. It makes the cost feel like a justifiable investment or operational expense rather than just another subscription.
Okay, the last point in this section, customization. The big platforms are inherently generic. They offer the standard set of features meant for billions of users. That one-size-fits-all approach rarely matches the specific needs of specialized groups.
And that forces communities into using really awkward, clunky workarounds.
Yeah.
Trying to manage complex projects using basic group features. Imagine, like, a scientific research group needing specialized tools for visualizing data together, or a university course needing a very specific type of integrated grading system. If the main platform doesn't offer it natively, what do? They end up juggling multiple external apps, maybe Slack plus Trello plus Google Docs plus something else. It creates friction, disconnects information, and really limits how useful the central platform can be.
So the strength of the PMSN model here is its adaptability. It can be tailor-made. You mentioned Web4.community uses a modular API-first framework. What does API-first really mean for a community builder? How does it enable that transformation from generic to bespoke?
Right. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Thinking API first means the platform is built from its very foundation with the specific intention of making it easy and secure to connect with other tools and services. It's designed for integration. So, Web4.community, using this modular API-first approach, allows for the creation and plugging in of bespoke modules, custom features developed specifically for that community's unique needs. We could be talking about highly specialized voting systems for governance, or integrated educational quizzes that report scores directly back to a learning management system, or unique portals with different access levels based on roles within the group. It also means it can easily connect to external systems using these API hooks, maybe linking directly to the organization's financial software or a specific scientific database or any other tool they rely on. This capability is what transforms the platform from just being a generic social space into potentially a powerful, highly customized digital hub, perfectly tuned to the community's specific workflow and purpose.
Okay, we've arrived at our final section, section 4, and we've saved perhaps the most crucial long-term asset for last: the community's knowledge, its intellectual legacy, all those discussions, the decisions made, the documents shared, the expertise built up over months or years. That's the real treasure of any collaborative group. But on mainstream platforms, that knowledge feels incredibly fragile, almost disposable.
It really is ephemeral. The knowledge archive on a typical centralized platform is often a mess scattered across endless feeds, hard to search effectively unless you know exactly what keyword to use. Its very existence and integrity depend entirely on the platform continuing to maintain its search tools and archive features properly. We've seen platforms degrade search or make archives harder to access. If the company decides to kill a feature or change how its API works, suddenly years of collective work, vital organizational memory can become practically invisible, unfindable. It makes it incredibly hard for new members to get up to speed, and ultimately it risks erasing the group's history and knowledge because, again, the knowledge isn't truly owned by the community. It's held captive by the platform.
So to truly protect that legacy, the PMSN model, and Web4.community specifically, has to treat that community archives not as an afterthought, but as a core, permanent asset, owned and controlled only by the community itself.
That's absolutely the mandate. Web4.community is designed with knowledge permanence in mind. It integrates more advanced search capabilities, like semantic search. That goes beyond simple keywords. It tries to understand the meaning and context of the content, making older discussions much easier to find, even if you don't remember the exact phrasing. It also offers options for immutable content storage. That means once something important is archived, it can be locked in a way that prevents it from being accidentally deleted or altered by future platform updates or policy changes. It's preserved. This combination guarantees that the community's intellectual capital, its accumulated knowledge, is kept safe, is easily discoverable when needed, and critically, is permanently owned and controlled by the community itself. By securing this digital legacy away from the whims of external corporations and volatile market forces, Web4.community ensures that the knowledge the group builds together provides real, lasting value for the long term, potentially for future generations within that community. #tag outro.
So let's wrap this up. What's the big picture here? Our deep dive across these 10 critical areas, from data privacy to knowledge legacy, paints a pretty clear picture, I think. This shift away from the huge centralized social media giants towards these smaller, more focused, self-governed, private microsocial networks. It's not just some niche trend or a luxury item. It feels like an absolute necessity for any group that's truly serious about protecting its members' privacy, supporting their well-being, enabling focused work, and safeguarding its own intellectual integrity.
Yeah, the whole transition really boils down to reclaiming sovereignty and focusing on genuine value creation, not just value extraction. We've walked through how Web4.community provides a concrete architectural solution for making this shift possible. It offers the decentralization needed for data control, the customization for specific needs, and the focus required to build communities that are truly sustainable, valuable, and built to last. Addressing all those points we covered, from the psychological impact right through to monetization and preserving knowledge, it fundamentally changes the power dynamic between the users and the platform they inhabit.
And changing that dynamic brings us right back to that core conflict we started with, that tension between platform goals and user needs. Considering all the risks we've laid out today, the data exploitation, the way algorithms manipulate our attention, the constant mental toll, the very real danger of platforms decaying or disappearing, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to chew on. A provocative question, perhaps. Take a hard look at the digital communities you participate in right now. What value is that platform really extracting from you, from your knowledge, your time, your attention, your data? And how does that compare to the tangible, lasting value it's actually providing back to you and your group? It might be time to seriously weigh whether the perceived cost of free is actually worth the real price of losing ownership and control. Something to mull over as you navigate your own digital world.